All right, Cody, let's hold on, please. I know I didn't ask in advance. Let's stop. Thank you very much. Guys, it's Real Truth. It's Monday. No time for introductions. You know where you are. You're here intentionally. If you're not here intentionally, then it's God's will that you be here. Because what I have to say is important enough for you to stop everything and listen. Item from MSNBC. Ted Cruz and John Kasich are teaming up against Donald Trump. The campaigns announced Sunday night that they're dividing up the primary map to clear a path for each other in select states. It's not mathematically too late, Bloomberg's Mark Halperin said on Monday's Morning Joe. But the headline there is shock deal. Others have called it a deal of desperation. If Trump wins Indiana or wins it big, it's over. This is really about Indiana. This is about one step at a time. Having made the deal, if Cruz can't beat Trump in Indiana, it's over, unquote. So my friends, let me make sure that we understand this. Kasich and Cruz are running not to be president because they can't be. They're mathematically eliminated. They're running not for America to do the very best it can in the future because that's secondary, if at all, on their list. They're running for ego. They're running for power. They're running for money. And if, in order to do that, they need to step on and eliminate the will of the people, well, screw us. Now they're teaming up to take Trump down. Not to make America better. Not because they have a plan that will fix our problems. Their message is not let's make America great again. Their message is let's take out Trump. So tell me, do you want to vote for guys who have become essentially hitmen? Do they have anything positive to bring? No. They're going to team up to take out Donald Trump because they don't like Donald Trump, and that's perfectly understandable. Trump has kicked both their asses. They're professional politicians, and they've had their heads handed to them by some guy who's never been in politics before. They look bad, their egos are bruised, and so they want revenge. And they're hoping that you and I are stupid enough to go along with this. They're going to tag team Donald Trump. Brilliant idea. Related item from Fox News, Republican frontrunner Donald Trump was out on the campaign trail Monday with a two-word response to rivals Ted Cruz and John Kasich's move to try and stop his march to the GOP presidential nomination. Quote, dead and desperate. Trump said, quote, Lion Ted and Kasich are mathematically dead and totally desperate. That's what he tweeted Sunday night after his rival's stunning announcement. Their donors and special interest groups are not happy with them. Sad, unquote. A statement from the Trump campaign called the move, quote, a horrible act of desperation from two campaigns who have horribly failed, unquote. RNC Communications Director Sean Spicer said on Monday on MSNBC, quote, every campaign has to run its own strategy, unquote. And that it wasn't the RNC's job, quote, to handicap it as much as ensure that we have a fair and transparent process, unquote. Well, my friends, of course that's a lie, but we'll continue. The Cruz and Kasich campaigns made their announcement immediately, blah, blah, blah. The simultaneously released statements announced Kasich would pull out of Indiana to give Cruz a clear path ahead of that state's winner-take-all primary May 3rd, while the Cruz campaign will clear the path for Kasich in Oregon, which votes May 17th, and New Mexico, which votes June 7th. So, my friends, Kasich and Cruz want you to clear a path. They want a path to the White House. Mathematically, they can't do it because people don't want to vote for them. The American people have spoken. And Kasich and Cruz have been eliminated. Well, screw that. They want you, the voter, to get out of their way. Forget voters, forget elections, forget primaries, forget caucuses. They want to get to the White House, so get out of the way. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel like they don't respect you? Well, that's good, because they don't. Does it make you feel like you're a part of this process? Well, as far as Kasich and Cruz are concerned, you're not. You're an impediment. You're an obstacle. Get out of the way. So what is it they're arguing against? What is it they want to accomplish? Who are they really trying to defeat? Yeah, ostensibly they're trying to defeat Donald Trump, but really they're trying to defeat American voters. How do I know? Item from Breitbart. Data compiled since the New York GOP primary shows that billionaire Donald Trump's popular vote total in 2016 in states that have voted so far significantly exceeds the vote totals that Mitt Romney, the 2012 nominee, had in those states in total. All in all, in the contest that's been had so far in 2016, Trump towers over Romney, having won more than 2 million more votes in the 2016 GOP primaries than the next closest vote getter to Trump in this cycle. In total, Trump has received 8,776,586 votes so far this year in states that have already held primaries or caucuses or conventions. In those same states in 2012, Romney received 6,654,029 votes, a whopping 2,122,557 votes less than Donald Trump. So, thing number one, Mitt Romney can shut up and disappear. He has nothing to add to the conversation. Number two, Trump and Kasich can't have any self-respect left. There are political whores who are now taking their whoring after votes to a new level. You don't attack me, I won't attack you, I'll drop out for you, you drop out for me, because what matters is not the American people, not the future of the United States. What matters is beating Donald Trump, because that gives power back to the establishment. That lets the establishment continue to screw the American people, ignore the American people, eviscerate the economy. This is the establishment, my friends, pulling out every stop to hold on to power, because there's one person who can take their power away and give it back to the people, and that's a guy named Trump. And so they will move heaven and earth, and they will enlist Kasich and Cruz, and they will suspend the competition between the two of them. Mind you, Kasich is 1 for 38 in this primary season. 1 for 38. The only one that he won was in his home state, because the people in Ohio are just stupid enough to vote for someone who's a complete loser because he happens to live in their neighborhood. My friends, don't fall for this. This is sleazy, disgusting politics taken to the nth degree. The reason they're so hungry to stop Trump is because Trump doesn't work for the special interests. He works for us. It's Monday, and it's Real Truth. And I'll be right back.
I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading, and I would like to encourage everyone to make sure they are prepared financially as the Federal Reserve continues to destroy the value of the dollar. Since the closing of the gold window in 1971, the Federal Reserve has led the way in the explosion of debt and the devaluing of your money. They openly say that they need 2% inflation.
It's the volume part that now you've been expected, but he wasn't ready for it because he had the first stage. You'll start to see more depth for the parties.
Learn more about how to protect yourself. Visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592 and protect yourself against the devaluing of your money. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Monday on Real Truth. My friends, you know Chris Wallace. He's on Fox News. And he's a media whore. He's one of those guys who gets a paycheck, and I'm sure it's a good one, to go out and do hit pieces on whoever Fox News doesn't like. Believe me, there are lots of people like him in the major media. He's a media whore. So this past weekend, yesterday in fact, he was told to go out and attack Donald Trump through Paul Manafort, who is Trump's convention manager. Now, Paul Manafort is a world-class political wheeler-dealer. He gets things done in the world of politics. He's the best, which is why Donald Trump hired him. But as you'll see, I'm going to play you this clip. Chris Wallace is going to do everything in his power, no matter what it takes, to make Donald Trump look bad. Of course, Paul Manafort is a hell of a lot smarter than Chris Wallace. And he has the benefit of having truth on his side. So Chris Wallace is going to end up beating his head against the wall for nothing. Now, they're going to start this interview by playing a tape of Paul Manafort at a meeting he held in Florida. You're not going to be able to understand what he's saying, so I will read it to you, and then I will drop out when we go to the live interview with Chris Wallace and Paul Manafort. Get it? Got it? Good. Here we go. Paul Manafort says, the part he's been playing, the part Trump has been playing, is evolving into the part that now you've been expecting, but he wasn't ready for it because he had to first complete the first phase. Okay, this is Paul Manafort talking about Trump. You'll start to see more depth to the person, the real person. You'll see him in a different way.
Playing a part, see the real person. Trump has been campaigning for 10 months now, and we haven't seen the real man.
What that clip was related to was a question that was asked, talking about the settings that he was going to be in. On the campaign setting, you're seeing the real Donald Trump in campaign mode, talking to people who believe in his candidacy. I was dealing with members of the Republican National Committee who have a different role from an organizational standpoint, and they wanted to know about things like, is he going to be giving speeches on policies? Is he going to be involved in settings that are not rally-oriented? And that was the context I was talking about. We were evolving the campaign, not the candidate, and the settings were going to start changing.
Forgive.
So, my friends, right off the bat, Chris Wallace is taking these comments totally out of context. He wasn't in the meeting. And he's saying, well, obviously they mean X. Well, they don't. Paul Manafort just told them they mean Y. But rather than coming on and asking Manafort what they mean, he immediately said, they must mean that Trump is a phony. My friends, the reason Trump has pulled a record number of people to the polls is because we recognize he's not a phony. He is real, as opposed to the Ted Cruz's and Kasichs and the little Marco Rubios and all those guys who are staged and phony. Okay, so right off the bat, Chris Wallace makes his mission known. He's there to try and take Trump out at the knees. Manafort won't have it because the truth doesn't support Chris Wallace. Let's go on. There we go.
It does seem a little bit like spin, because, in the words, the part that he's been playing, you'll start to see more.
Now, see, the fact that Manafort has explained it to him doesn't matter. Chris Wallace wants to repeat it so people will remember it. Is it true? No, but that doesn't matter because I may have mentioned already Chris Wallace is a media whore. His idea is to get negative stuff out about Donald Trump. If it's not true, it doesn't really matter because he was told what to do by his bosses and they pay his salary, and so that's what he's going to do. Let's go back to the interview.
Depth of the person, the real person. You're not talking about rallies versus some other setting.
I was talking about rallies versus
That's not what
settings.
you said.
Well, in the context of that room, that's what I said, and that's what was understood. When it was taken out of context, and the question that was asked to me wasn't prefaced with my answer, to get a distorted thing. Donald Trump said it yesterday on the campaign trail in Waterbury and Bridgeport. He addressed the issue completely. Look, I'm playing when I'm out here, I want to talk to you and show you who I am in this environment. When I'm going to give a policy speech, I'm going to be giving a policy speech. He said it straight up.
Okay. According to Ted Cruz, and understandably he's not a great supporter of you or Donald Trump, he says what you were saying is that Trump the conservative is just a show. Here's Cruz.
All right, now here's what's happening. Chris Wallace is now trying a third time to say Donald Trump is a fake. It was explained to him right off the bat that those comments were taken out of context, and that seen in context, there's no conflict at all with what Trump's been saying all along. Didn't matter. He went at it a second time. Paul Manafort corrected him a second time. Well, that doesn't matter because here he's going to go a third time by quoting Ted Cruz, who isn't exactly a supporter of Donald Trump. So Chris Wallace has been told, listen, Chrissy, you're going to go on with Paul Manafort and you're going to damage Trump. And if you don't feel like doing it, remember who signs your paycheck. As a journalist and as an American, I'm offended by Chris Wallace. This is not journalism. This is hucksterism. This is propagandizing. Let's go back to it.
Doesn't believe anything he's saying. He's just trying to fool gullible voters, and he's not going to do any of it. He's not going to build a wall. He's not going to deport anyone. He is telling us he is lying to us.
Now here is lying Ted, who's been caught in numerous lies, who's a professional politician, which means he's a professional liar. And he's talking about the genuine candidate, the real candidate, the sincere and honest candidate, and calling him a liar. Makes sense? Obviously it's ridiculous, but not so ridiculous that Chris Wallace won't put it on the air. Because he figures you're an idiot, and I'm an idiot, and if we hear it, we'll believe it. Well, if you're listening to Real Truth, you're not an idiot. You're a sharp cookie, and you're a smart consumer of political discourse. And that's why Paul Manafort continues throughout this interview to kick Chris Wallace's ass. Let's listen to it.
When you talk about Trump playing a part, Cruz says that's what you mean.
There's the liar, not Trump. I mean, he's got to change the narrative. He's losing. You know, he's on the cusp of having the nomination be mathematically taken away from him, and so he's trying to change the narrative. We never talked about the wall. Donald Trump. I never said Trump wasn't going to build a wall. I never said Trump was going to change any of his position. We never even talked about that in the meeting. Cruz just made that up from whole cloth because he's got to find something that gets people away from focusing on the real campaign, which is next Tuesday, when he's going to lose all 5 states and probably finish third in most of them. He's got a failed candidacy, and you can see in that desperate kind of tactic the kind of way he's trying to gloss over, just like he did with Carson in Iowa and with Rubio in Florida. He just makes things up when he feels cornered.
Yeah.
Now, why does he make things up? Well, 2 reasons. One, he's a liar. Ted Cruz is. Cruz is a liar, so he lies. 2, there are people who will believe his lies. 3, he's got Chris Wallace and other media whores trumpeting his lies. So he figures we'll get away with them. Manafort, who's a world-class operative, will have none of it. And he's putting Cruz in his place and Chris Wallace in his place as calm as can be. Let's continue.
You say he's losing, but in fact, he had a pretty good weekend. One of your jobs is to make sure that the delegates that are actually selected, the people who are going to sit in the seats, are Trump supporters who will continue to support him if the convention goes beyond the first ballot. But yesterday, Trump picked up at least 65 delegates. The people sitting in those seats, even if they have to vote for Trump in the first round, are Cruz supporters, and the Cruz campaign says you guys picked up 65 to 2. That's not losing.
My friends, get this. Chris Wallace is a piece of crap. Do you get his logic here? Trump picked up 65 delegates, and so he's a loser. That makes sense to you, doesn't it? Ted Cruz lost 65 delegates, so he really had a good weekend. Do you get that logic? Chris Wallace is going to bat for Ted Cruz, swinging for the fences. This is the 4th time around in just the 3 minutes and 35 seconds that this interview has been going. It's his 4th time around swinging away at Donald Trump, trying to clear the way for Ted Cruz. He might as well be receiving a paycheck from the Cruz campaign. It's utterly dishonest. It's utterly ridiculous. And I give Paul Manafort a lot of credit. He's keeping his composure. You know, that's not exactly my strong suit. But Manafort is simply sitting there, calm as can be, as smooth as a Buddha, telling Chris Wallace, effectively, when you boil it all down, that he's an idiot and a liar. And that Ted Cruz is a desperate liar. Let's listen. Here's Manafort.
Around a long time, Chris. The only vote
Don't
that
rub it
matters,
in.
the
Go ahead.
only vote that matters is the vote that's cast when the roll call is called. On Saturday, Ted Cruz won 0. Not 36, not 66, 0 delegates. What was done on Saturday was simply confirming the results of primaries. Now, most of the conventions that happened yesterday were set in stages a month or two ago, and before, frankly, I was involved.
Now, you hear that, my friends? What happened yesterday on Saturday was that Ted Cruz picked up 0 delegates. Now, you don't need to reach for your calculator. 0 means 0, nada. Well, you listen to Chris Wallace, he had a good weekend. He did great. He's winning. You remember a few months ago when what's his name, little Marco Rubio was running? Week after week, he would lose primaries, but all you heard in the media was Rubio's gaining momentum. He would lose 2 more primaries. Yeah, but he's gaining momentum. He would lose 3 more primaries. Yeah, I know he lost, but he's gaining momentum. Well, those same purveyors of truth, in the person of Chris Wallace, media whore, is telling you that Ted Cruz, he's gaining momentum. No, he didn't win any delegates, but he's gaining momentum. My friends, I don't like being lied to, whether it's to my face or through a television screen. I don't like being lied to. Respect my intelligence just a little bit. Well, again, Chris Wallace has a hefty salary to defend, so truth be damned. Voters be damned. Paul Manafort be damned. Chris Wallace came out to splash mud as best he could on Donald Trump, and if you've got a brain in your head, you can see he's failing miserably. Let's go back and finish this up.
That's not the point, though. The point is Cruz doesn't care about what happens in the elections. What Cruz is doing is he's playing fast with the rules, doesn't care about the local concerns. What you saw in Maine yesterday, for example, Maine, there was a consensus the governor had put together of all the campaigns, and everybody was going to be represented on the ticket consistent with the results that the voters chose in the Maine primary. Cruz, at the last minute, broke the deal and effectively didn't care about the local officials, didn't care about the results afterwards, and yes, he steamrolled it. That's not the Trump approach. We're running the campaign to win the votes on the first ballot, and we're going to win on the first ballot. So all of this party disruption that Cruz is causing, at the end of the day, is only going to hurt the party. It's not going to hurt Trump because he's still going to have the votes cast in the first ballot, and there's going to be no second ballot, which will be very clear before the end of when the process is over on June 7th.
You and I have known each other since the Reagan White House, but after that you went into lobbying, and I think it's fair to say that some of your clients are, at the very least, controversial.
All right, stop. First of all, what you need to know about Chris Wallace is that he got his job in the news media because his father, Mike Wallace, was a big shot. All right? So he didn't get there because he's especially good. He got there through knowing people. Wink, wink. That's number one. Number two, he tried to insinuate that Trump is lying, tried to insinuate that Cruz is winning when he's not. Now he's going to go after Paul Manafort and somehow insinuate that there's something wrong with Manafort because some of the people he's represented in the past are less than pristine individuals. They're kind of scummy individuals. And so Manafort must be scummy, and so Trump must be scummy, and so everyone who's voted for him must be an idiot because obviously Ted Cruz has got momentum. I don't like having my intelligence insulted. I like it less when it happens from media whores who got their jobs because of who their dad was. And no, I will not be starting the Chris Wallace fan club, in case you were wondering. Let's take a break and we'll be back. More Real Truth ahead. My friends, it just drives me crazy. You get these high-priced journalists, quote-unquote, who aren't journalists at all. They're allied with the politicians. They're politicians who speak well on television. That's what they are. And that's what they do. And when they come on and lie to people, obvious lies, bad lies, clear lies, it just ticks me off. Sorry, that's me. Maybe it doesn't tick you off, but it ticks me off. And it's my show, so I get to vent. And that's how the world works. We'll be back.
Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities as modest emergency lighting all the way to commercial-scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom-designed system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com. Now this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Piccolo's restaurant in Denver reminds us that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters at play, and if you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's restaurant in Denver is not only the best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Piccolo.
And we are back. It's Monday here on Real Truth. I hope you had a good Passover celebration, if indeed you did celebrate Passover. Of course, now we're in Chol. I'm not going to go into a whole explanation about what that means. Let's get back to important stuff. This comes from Camelot TV Network over in England. We're going to get a European perspective on the presidential race, the Republican nominating process. You wonder what they're thinking over in England? Well, you don't have to wonder any longer. I'm going to play for you. What they say is very insightful. Let's listen.
Welcome to Camelot Castle and the Round Table. This evening we're going to be discussing a man who has become loved and hated, admired and envied, the length and breadth of this world, and probably talked about more than any other personality over the last 12 months, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump continues to dominate. Thousands of
All the way around the convention, biggest crowd surging in the polls. Far out, more than double.
20,000 people in Dallas, 35,000 in Mobile, Alabama. This whole arena packed, and we're sending people away.
We're winning in Iowa, New Hampshire,
South Carolina,
Florida, Texas. It's been wild.
When Donald Trump announced his presidency last year in August, we decided to get behind his campaign and back him. Tonight we wanted to clarify for our friends and viewers why that is.
So why Trump?
It boils down to food. What very few people realize is that originally the founders of the United States put in place a law to ensure a 3-year emergency food supply for every citizen. In the 60s and 70s, the government started to sell off that food supply. How many days food supply do you think there is in America today in the case of a national emergency?
Probably 6 months to a year, which would seem logical.
It's 3 days.
Wow.
Now, have you ever seen videos on YouTube of what occurs on Black Friday, which is a shopping day
Have
in
indeed.
America?
They're dangerous.
Right. Exactly. Just imagine what would be happening at the supermarkets in the United States during a state of national emergency in a country that has a Second Amendment, which I fully support, where there are more guns than there are people.
Riots.
That's right. The American people are essentially armed. So it doesn't take much of an imagination to understand what would happen in that country were there to be a financial crisis. We can all imagine it. It's brutal. Now, the question then becomes, is you hear about the debt ceiling. You hear about $19 trillion worth of debt. You hear that there's going to be $21 trillion worth of debt when Obama leaves office. At some point, there will be a crisis of confidence if you continually keep printing money. Now, I can't tell you whether that crisis will occur tomorrow, whether it will occur in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but unless something is done to reverse the trend of debt, America will experience a crisis of confidence. Now, the dollar is the primary reserve currency, not just of America, but of the entire world. So a crisis in the dollar and a loss of confidence in the dollar would make the messes in Rhodesia, in Brazil, 1930s Germany, where you saw horrific hyperinflation of the currency and a total debacle. You had people trying to pay things with wheelbarrows of cash. And what's interesting is that the graphs of the American debt mirror the graphs that were occurring in Germany in 1930. So there is no question. A civilized economy cannot continue to print money that is not theirs.
How can Donald Trump prevent this economic disaster from happening?
One word, competence. He is a competent businessman and a competent leader. If you read his book, Crippled America, which is one of the best political works that I have ever read, extremely succinct, extremely easy to understand, he lays out a step-by-step plan that would do more to reverse the fortunes of the United States and indeed the whole world than any other politician has ever done in the last 50 years. Wow. He's extraordinary.
As an experienced businessman, do you think this is genius?
There's no question. Donald Trump is a competent businessman and he is a business genius here. So it wouldn't just affect people in America, and that's why this election is very, very relevant to people in this country, in Europe, it's relevant to Germany, it's relevant to Greece, it's relevant to countries all over the world, it's relevant to Russians. But you had a great point that you wanted to make.
Absolutely, because obviously our economies are very much related, and it has been very unfortunate to us to watch what's happening in Russia and relationships between Russia and America. And that's why we are very excited about Trump possibly becoming a president, because as I see it, he is the only person who is able and capable and, it looks like, willing to get on with Putin and bring something productive and positive that could materialize between the two great empires. And this is a real opportunity to end Cold War for the first time, for real. It has never really happened before. And
well, he said that he would get on
He
well
did,
with Putin.
he did.
And as far as I know, Putin has even made some indications
he did, yes,
that
he did.
he sort of respects
Absolutely,
Mr. Trump.
absolutely he did.
Certainly in Mr. Trump's book, he shows from his actions that he's very capable of unifying
Absolutely.
and getting on with people. How do you think he would get on with Mr. Putin?
Well, I think he is, first of all, a businessman and he is a productive person. So what matters to him is products. And I think this will translate in his foreign policy.
That's right. And what sort of feedback have you been getting from our...
My friends, I'll tell you how Donald Trump will get along with Putin. He'll get along well, and here's why. Putin respects strength. The Russians respect strength. Many nations act that way. They respect strength. When they have a wishy-washy weakling like Barack Obama, they run roughshod over the United States because they know they can get away with it. People will do whatever they can get away with. Well, they know they wouldn't get away with it with Trump, and so they would pull back. Putin would mind his manners, and they would deal on a mutually exclusive basis. Mutually beneficial basis. And that's the way other countries, most notably Mexico, would deal with the United States. And this is what Trump was saying all along about the fact that America doesn't win anymore. We don't win because we have hack politicians, political whores, not leaders, not businessmen. We have political whores. And they don't know how to accomplish anything, and they don't deal from a position of strength because they cower at the most recent polling information. Donald Trump doesn't care about polling. He cares about results, and he has built an empire by getting results. And so Putin will mind his manners. And the folks in Mexico will pay for the wall to be built. And he will get the respect of nations around the world. Ted Cruz won't. Just that simple. We'll take a break. Real Truth marches on. Don't go anywhere.
So here's the story.
That guy's all done. See you tomorrow.
I was just talking